A standard fire extinguisher is a specialized pressure vessel designed to maintain chemical readiness in a dormant state over years of total inactivity. From the outside, these devices suggest a uniform simplicity. They are identical red steel cylinders, often mounted in corridors for decades without being moved. Look past the steel casing, and that uniformity ends. These vessels utilize different internal structures to store a granular solid, a stratified liquid-gas mix, and a sub-cylinder propellant system. One holds dry granular particulate. The one beside it contains a boiling liquid phase. The engineering challenge is one of reliability. The system must remain sealed and pressurized for years, then discharge its entire payload the instant the pin is pulled. Understanding how these devices work requires deconstructing the mechanical methods used to generate pressure and how that pressure interacts with the physical state of the agent inside. This internal physics determines if the device will function correctly in the seconds when it is actually needed. To move mass rapidly out of a sealed tank, the system must establish a severe pressure differential between the cylinder and the outside air. Early designs utilized internal chemical reactions for power. Breaking an internal acid ampule triggered a reaction generating carbon dioxide to drive the agent out. Modern industrial units use an auxiliary cartridge system, isolating the high-pressure propellant. The suppression agent sits at atmospheric pressure. The compressed gas is sealed inside a separate internal capsule, keeping the main vessel unstressed during storage. When the handle is struck, a pin pierces the capsule. The compressed gas expands, filling the main chamber and pressurizing the system instantly. While cartridge systems are common in industrial settings, the requirement for an immediate response often favors a stored pressure architecture. In a stored pressure system, the agent and the propellant gas are mixed and sealed together in a state of permanent equilibrium from the day the unit is manufactured. Because the cylinder is under constant load, an external manometer allows the operator to verify that the internal pressure remains within the functional range. The choice of pressure generation determines whether the cylinder acts as a passive container or a preloaded pneumatic system. Once pressure is established, it must interact with the suppression agent. For ABC powder systems, this is a matter of moving a solid mass. Technical specifications confirm that ABC powder is not a liquid or a gas. It is a strictly dry, pulverized solid. As a solid, the powder has no vapor pressure and cannot move itself. It requires an external force to reach the nozzle. Engineers add a compressed propellant, such as nitrogen, into the headspace above the powder. This gas acts as a pneumatic piston, sitting ready to push the agent downward. Opening the valve releases the nitrogen. The gas expands and exerts downward force onto the top of the powder bed. This cross-section shows the only escape route. The expanding gas drives the powder down and then back up through the central dip tube, which leads directly to the hose. This creates a cloud of microscopic chemical dust, riding a wave of rapidly expanding nitrogen gas to reach the fire. The internal geometry of an ABC extinguisher is designed to transform a stationary solid into a mobile aerodynamic state. Carbon dioxide systems use a different approach, moving away from mechanical displacement to rely on thermodynamic self-propulsion. There is no separate nitrogen propellant. The CO₂ is both the suppression agent and the force that drives it out. To store enough agent, the CO₂ is kept under such high pressure that it condenses into a liquid state, filling most of the internal volume shown in this diagram. A layer of high-pressure vapor occupies the top. Because internal pressure changes based on ambient temperature, these tanks typically operate without a pressure gauge. Activating the unit allows the vapor pressure to force the liquid CO₂ up through the dip tube toward the valve. The critical event happens at the nozzle. The liquid undergoes rapid adiabatic expansion as it hits atmospheric pressure, turning instantly back into a gas. This expansion consumes thermal energy, causing the temperature of the jet to drop to -78.5 degrees Celsius. This often produces solid dry ice snow. This thermal drop creates a frostbite hazard. Touching the metal components during the discharge can cause immediate injury to the operator. The steel tank is left uninsulated, so it can absorb heat from the surrounding air. This prevents the liquid inside from freezing into a solid block during a long discharge. To protect the user, engineers attach this flared black polymer dispensing horn. It directs the freezing gas while insulating hands from the cryogenic temperatures. A CO₂ extinguisher functions as a phase change device, utilizing the energy drop of a liquid turning into a gas to suppress fire through thermal shock. Side by side, the divergence in design is clear. One side forces a solid particulate upward using external gas, while the other allows a liquid to vaporize into a heavy cloud. Solids require fluidization, while liquefied gases rely on thermodynamic expansion. The choice between them depends on the hazard. Powder provides a physical barrier on surfaces, while CO₂ leaves no residue, protecting sensitive electrical equipment. Maintaining these stored forces requires strict adherence to safety and maintenance regulations. Hydrostatic testing is used to ensure the steel can still handle the load. Technicians pressurize the cylinders with water to measure how much the metal expands after years of service. A cylinder expanding beyond tolerance is decommissioned. These machines must remain perfectly stable for years, then perform reliably the first time they are triggered. Industrial safety is built on the precise application of thermodynamics and mechanical integrity, ensuring these high-pressure systems work exactly as designed.